Welcome to UNCAGED, a show that celebrates thought leadership from today's top business leaders. The program provides a voice to amazing executives from around the globe who are shaping the world of business today and mapping the path to the commerce of tomorrow. Today, we're speaking with Kyle Duford. Kyle, how are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
I'm very, very well. I'm excited to talk about probably my favorite industry, which is advertising and branding. Kyle is the executive creative director at The Brand Leader, which is an agency that is growing brands through human to human connection. And we'll tweeze through that philosophy in a little bit. But before we get there, Kyle, tell us a little bit about yourself and your career.
Well, first, let me tell you that I've never heard anyone record their open like that live. So I'm impressed. That was awesome. Yeah. I'm going to take my cue from you next time. Gosh, I've been lucky enough to come from a varying background. I started off in magazines in the outdoor world. Was a freelance journalist after that, moved into online content online, which dovetailed really nicely to the burgeoning world of e-commerce about 18, 20 years ago. And was able to tell a really great story between content design, attracting visitors in that case, and then ultimately selling product. And it just made me ripe for the world of branding. I had a design background. And so, yeah, I've come a long way. I was on brand side for a number of years, a good 20 years, and made the jump over to agency side. And I'll never leave. This is kind of a privilege to be working with many different businesses and brands across the globe, really. And yeah, it's been a fortunate life.
Well, I see that the Brand Leader as a group, works on all the areas of branding, brand positioning, brand architecture. I actually started my own career working for what was called I don't know if it's called that anymore, identity consultants. Do you have that? Is that still an industry where we would do a lot of brand positioning and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, you might be dating yourself with the vernacular a hair, but the gist is the same. We pride ourselves on calling ourselves a brand first creative agency, and what that means is, we work with businesses who understand the importance, the superiority, the foundation elements of what a brand actually is. And we'll work with folks who kind of, not only just understand that, but kind of hang their hat on a strong brand and what that means. And so, yeah, it starts with positioning as a strong foundation, and then you can pull brand strategy out from there, and how are you going to your product, go to market, whatever it might be. But if you don't understand what your brand is and understand the power of that, then we're not the agency for you, because we're not just ones who come in and, and draw pretty pictures or design, great sites. We really, really care about advancing the message of a brand and how it affects people. You mentioned the open or human to human connection element, and that's really important to us to make, we say a brand is an emotional connection between a business, product, or service with a customer or potential customer. And it's all about relationships, especially in this day and age. So if you get that, then we're the agency for you.
Yeah, and I think that there's something about the process of building a brand that is so intertwined with an enterprise figuring out, or perhaps being able to verbalize or visualize their culture and like what they're about. And so I think probably the reason why I find what you do so fascinating is that journey that the team, that your customer goes through, right? Where they're like, yeah, we just need a logo. And you're like, okay, great. And you start down the path and you're like, yeah, I think you guys are going to be learning a lot more about yourselves.
Yeah. And that's true. It's we just got out of a leadership meeting this morning talking about that actual thing, and why we put such importance on the fact that we don't do a logo or come up with colors or typography or taglines until the end of the branding process. We make sure that we understand really what the brand is about, because if you don't define it, your customer ultimately will, and that might not be in line with the business strategy. And so we work tirelessly to understand the brand's essence, purpose, vision, mission. We hang our hat a lot on the brand archetypes, the old Jungian model of the 12 different emotional archetypes and personalities. And And we derive a lot of it from there. Voice and tone comes out of it, characteristics, and then that kind of enables the positioning and the unique selling propositions. All of that happens in many cases if we're building a brand from scratch before the name even comes out, because the name is inferred by those positions and those different pillars that we've created. But if we're just rebranding a business, I don't want to say just because I don't want to minimize it, but if we're if we're doing that, then really it's still the same process where the aesthetics, the visual representation of the brand doesn't come until the end. It's kind of like we're building the building with the blueprints first, long before we decorate it and paint the walls. And that's so foundationally important to us, because those are the businesses who do really, really well, because then the visual representation is literally just that, because the brands can stand alone without ever seeing it. Yeah. It's the promises you make with the customer. So
I love the fact that you really, I think, articulated it perfectly, which is that it's laying that foundation, right? That core foundation that in any enterprise then can truly build not only their communications but their solution around, which is wonderful. I mean, as you look out today, are there trends in the branding space? Are there different ways people are thinking about branding these days that's interesting or exciting?
Well, I mean, there's so many different people who think they understand what brand is and branding and what that means. And depending on what part of the marketing world you're in, you said you came from advertising, and while we dab a little bit in that, we do a lot of more branding and kind of upfront stuff. We see a lot of different things. Unfortunately, the trend during the pandemic was a lot of smaller businesses, just because a lot of businesses kind of came out of nowhere, some out of necessity, some because people said, I don't want to work for anyone anymore or go back to work for anyone. So you saw a lot of these cottage industries pop up, and Shopify take off and these things. And those kind of folks ended up gravitating a lot toward Upwork and Fiverr, and kind of really diminishing the value of what we do, because the barrier to entry is so low these days. And then the more
the classic identity swoosh around the logo.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And but they'll come back to us, because those are the folks who, have 2-3 years in, they're doing well, they're a going concern, they have a great business, they have a great product or idea, and they're doing well. But if you want to grow and you hit that kind of that capital ceiling, or you need an injection of capital to grow, or to fund your purchase orders or whatever, you're going to get a PE group or a venture group come in, and they're going to say, hey, this is great going concern, want to be a part of this, we'll give you a chunk of money, but you need to have your branding dialed, and that's so important to investors. And so typically that's when people call us. But so that's the first bit, is a lot of people going towards those kind of cheap and easy ways. On the other side of things, we saw a lot of businesses the last 4 or 5 years, and at the height of the pandemic for certain, but even before that, really understanding that in today's digital world, this kind of digital first world, it is so important to connect with people on that level that we mentioned, that human to human connection, because it's becoming so, it feels like to people it's becoming irrelevant. You can talk to people through social media or through influencer marketing or retargeting ads, or the data-driven society. And yet when you lose that connection, that's really what you lose. And the businesses, the larger ones, the enterprise businesses who understand that, are the ones who are really spending a lot of money in brand and rebrand and kind of brand acceleration, because they understand the importance of that. And there's lots of stats out there. It's people yearn for that human connection. And if a brand can provide that, they'll double their revenue from those individuals who feel like they're connected with a brand. A lot of that happened for the millennial generation, who wanted to see transparency in the supply chain and understanding social cause and what brands are good for. And we saw that with brands like, Tom's doing 1-for-1 programs and things like that. That really ushered in that kind of understanding that a brand could have a social position and an emotional position at the same time. And now it's almost like incumbent upon businesses to have that as part of their strategy. So yes, so we're seeing those two different ends of the spectrum. The people who think it's a quick down and dirty, that's kind of any industry. You're going to have people who think it's easy, and the other end, people who are over investing in brand because they know the ultimate return, can be 3-4x over those businesses who don't invest in brand.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. And you raised another dimension here, which is, I would say, if we go back a decade, this idea that, sustainability the environment, governance, all these elements that are now really expected from leading brands, wasn't really there. And if you're not fusing those ideas in somehow, or weaving that into the culture, you're really going to struggle being relevant. So that's really a nice element there.
Yeah, relevancy is really the key, isn't there? That isn't it? That's the thing that brands are so terrified of being irrelevant, and yet some of them are so trepidatious from entering into the social space and making a misstep. And so it just paints our picture clearly, because a brand who knows what they stand for and what they believe in is one who they're not afraid to take the gloves off. Look
Yeah.
at Patagonia, who is like, nope, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. This is who we are. And it is, they just repeat that time and time and time again. So it establishes that consumer confidence, but moreover, it gives them the strategy to go forward. They know when to speak up. They know when they're not going to be a part of something. So if you understand the brand, it's really easy to either enter or not enter the social space. And if you do, what position to take, because the brand has that position already. So you're right. It's really, really relevant to brands who understand that.
I like that. Well, let me shift gears a little bit. And you touched on it already slightly, which is, we lived through this lovely pandemic moment over the last couple of years, which has been challenging, obviously, to people on so many levels. But I'd be curious to hear how you and the brand leader team kind of face some of those challenges, and maybe some of the exciting things that have maybe evolved from that.
Yeah, it's a great question. Again, this is something we were really fortunate for during the pandemic itself. Actually, we moved into a brand new space that we gutted and cleaned everything up, and we've got a wonderful space here. And we didn't have a very large team at the time; it was like 9 or 10 folks. But then a week later, literally a week after we moved into the new spaces, we had to send everyone home for the lockdown, and so that was pretty disconcerting. But what happened was in that. We were forced to connect in ways we hadn't ever connected before. So while we're a creative agency, yes, but we're a full service agency. So we have folks in development, folks in content and creative, digital, and so forth. We were in a room every morning, well, in a virtual room every morning, just to kind of have a stand up, which we never did in practice. Right. And that just connected us in a really, really interesting way. And we ended up having the best year, and at the time in 2020 was the best year in company record. And a lot of it was because some of those brands we talked about earlier, the ones who wanted to get into business or use this time to accelerate, or they pivoted. We had one major client who at the time before the pandemic was doing, this is crazy, 120 events a year.
Wow.
They're in the ed tech space, and all of a sudden that was gone. And that was their major revenue stream to sell wholesale. And they completely pivoted, and we helped them do that. And they ended up they had the biggest year ever. And so at that time, we actually had the luxury of kind of figuring out with all of our clients what to do. And it resulted in a banner year for us. Now, fast forward 2.5 years, and now we're almost 30 person agency. And now we're an international agency, and we've tripled in revenue and quadrupled in size, and we're so grateful for that time. We know many businesses and many people were not as fortunate. We don't want to take that lightly, because a lot of people were affected. But what it did for us, it actually just kind of polished up our own understanding of who we wanted to be during that time, and we were forced to, and we came out the other side a better agency for it, a much different agency as well.
It's also, I think you touched on something which I think is just such a great insight, which is that, you talk about your company focusing on this human to human connection. And, before the pandemic, I imagine the architecture and the interior design of your agency office really reflected that probably human to human philosophy. But there's something almost, there was this idea that, we were connecting on Zoom calls that was maybe inhuman because it was using technology. But strangely, it was also almost more human because we were like entering people's homes, right? We knew that they had dogs, or, their kids got home from school at a certain time, right? So you really got to understand people in a I think a more human way.
You're right. I mean, it was, I remember where I would sit every morning in my dining room and have our stand up. And it was, I mean, my kids were around me. My wife was home, and we had recalled all of them from college, and the younger ones weren't going to school. And so we had this really awesome home, just full of life. And that, that was seen by my colleagues and our staff, and and us to the other folks that, like you said, had dogs, or some of them were taking care of elderly parents and were struggling. And some of them were just newly married and experiencing this whole thing in a different way. And so it was really an interesting thing. But about that, I find what's really interesting is, like, before, when I would text somebody or call somebody, now people want to FaceTime me all the time. They're like, that's like the new norm. And I wish that would go away a little bit in my personal life. But you're right, things like this would have been happening, not quite on Zoom. And, the podcast explosion happened because of this, but so many other ways that we've been able to connect with people kind of because of that. And it, all it did was
I was saying, we hired quite a bit over the last couple of years. And I said to our head of HR a couple months ago, I said, honestly, I think this is a great way to hire people, because there's like kind of like almost like an unconscious bias when you meet somebody in person, whether they're tall or, you notice physical things, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're kind of hiring, on Zoom, you have no idea really, like, and what a person really looks like. And it's been so amazing for us, now that we've kind of, like, a lot of us have met each other. Suddenly you're like, oh my God, Emma's like 6'3", like, I never would have thought she was.
Yeah.
So you just get kind of a different perception. And I think that's strangely good, because that bias is bullshit, right? I mean, let's be honest, totally. Right?
Well, and to piggyback on that a little bit, what was really interesting for me is I saw relationships develop in the office, just, office friendships and things that probably wouldn't have happened had we not all been on kind of like a Brady Bunch screen all together every day, where you were, first of all, we're all presented equally on Zoom, right? And so that's a game changer. No one's standing up in front of people. No one's sitting down. It's no one's at the front of the class or not. And then on top of that, people were like, oh, wow, I see. Like you said, you get a view into their world. A lot of us here are cyclists, and we didn't know other ones were in the business until we saw a bike in the background, or, like you said, a dog in the background, or whatever. Your kids, your family, we got to know each other so differently that when we all got back together, the relationships were kind of cross department and in many ways cross social boundaries, which otherwise would have existed. And so we tried to kind of exalt that in many ways, and not just do that continually as we've grown internally, but also to our clients as well, and bring people in and out of our conference room, Zoom, whatever it might be, just to continue that person-to-person connection. It's our number one core value, is people first, and a lot of that came from that time period, understanding the value of that, and that's been huge.
I love that. Well, let's think about the near future for a second, Kyle. I mean, here we are in another, I'd say, watershed moment year. Lots of crazy stuff happening in 2022. What does the back half of the year look like for you guys?
Well, a lot of our clients have been very successful, and we've got a couple of very large ones that our top 7 clients collectively since January 1st have raised nearly $1 billion in some sort of series round, either pre-revenue, mostly post, many Series A or B, which has been really fantastic to be along the ride with them. And a lot of it is because they had strong brands that we helped create or helped accelerate. And so we're just very thankful for those folks, and we're seeing them in different sectors. Primarily, all of them have touched technology in some regard: medtech, fintech, edtech, some straight, technology plays, apps, some logistics, tech, and we've been really fortunate to see glimpses of the future of the kind of these industries from them. And so the back half of the year looks really good for us, looks really good for them. It's not really good when I look at my 401k lately, but when you think about the investment that these businesses are putting into, America, into the workforce, into the labor force, into growth, one of our clients is building a new headquarters in Dallas, and they have got one in San Jose, and they're bringing jobs and they're bringing people. It's encouraging to see, because you don't get that by reading the news. And so I think we're a little bit of a leading indicator in what's to come. And that makes me very proud of the work we're doing, but also gives me great hope for where we're headed as an economy, because I think we're going to get out of the mess we're in right now, and see what's going on. So yeah, we've got our sights set high for next year and the end of this year for sure.
Kyle, I love it. You're so optimistic and positive. Kyle for president, I tell you, right there.
You don't want to dig into my past. I would not make it past the opposition screeners. That's for sure.
Kyle, if someone wanted to learn more about what you're working on at The Brand Leader, where should they find you?
You can go to thebrandleader.com. It's all spelled out, thebrandleader.com. We've got a bunch of free resources there, not to mention a lot of our work. Not all of it's up there, but a lion's share of it is. Some great, we talked about archetypes, great archetype quiz for free. There's some free downloads. Rebranding guides are for free. You can download. There's a bunch of resources there. And you can always just shoot a note out to me through the contact form or anything, phone number, whatever you see out there, just to reach out if you want some more information.
Excellent. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for being on Uncaged today. We've been speaking with Kyle Duford. He is the Executive Creative Director of The Brand Leader. They are growing brands through human-to-human connection. They work on branding, brand positioning, brand hierarchy, really building the foundation of a brand and then pushing it out to the next level. So Kyle, it's been really fun to talk to you today. We look forward to having you back in the future.
Thanks so much. This has been my pleasure.
Cheers.